Hello. So earlier I did like a reading. It was only gonna be a 3 card reading, but it ended up being 4. And I didn't post it because it was kind of like sloppy and I wasn't really getting the point of the message. Um it was 3 court cards. It was, the only element that wasn't represented was water. And then I had the Page of Wands. And I was thinking, maybe we need to add a little bit more or control our elements of water a little bit better, our emotions, But then, I don't know, something didn't sit with me right. And I was, I'm on my lunch break. So I went into the store and got what I wanted or whatever. And then I walked by this man preaching religion to a religious man. Now, they weren't the same faith, but yet it was kind of along the same lines, if that makes sense. I'm not going to get into much detail because that's not really what it's about. And I heard him say the word God-fearing. And the reason why it struck my attention is because there was a comment on a post or something that like I commented on like a long time ago. And it had nothing to do with that at the time, but then you know how like if you comment on something and then somebody else comments and then it triggers you to look at it again because it's in your notifications. And it was I'm not even going to get into detail about what it was, but and that's what the one person had said about this other person. Well, they wouldn't do that because they're a God-fearing person, So rather than go into detail and debate that, because I wanted to, I can't remember what I said, but that's not even the point. The point was it made me think about fear. And then so let's like fast forward to today. So as I was walking out and I heard that and I was thinking about that, I'm like, maybe that's what that was about. So, and then I don't know if the numbers 116 or 611, whatever, like because I did my Astro Dice and I got 11 and 6. So if any of that means anything to you, I'm just gonna throw that out there. But I don't know if this means like I'm not like being inspired to bring up the actual cards, but so then I thought about it, and I thought about the absence of emotion. All right, so if we have a relationship with somebody and it's all out of like fear. What is fear? Fear makes us afraid. It makes us guarded. It makes us feel like we have to do something and we're not directed from our heart. And honestly, I feel like spiritually and really, that's what we're focused and supposed to be doing here, is being focused on your heart, acting from your heart. And if you think about it, what are some of the other things that fear brings up? Mistrust. You can also, like if you're afraid, sometimes that causes you to do things in a manipulative way, right? So why would we want that in the most in our spiritual life, right? And again, I'm not knocking any religion or anything, because there's a lot of people that are in all kinds of faiths that kind of, you'll hear that, God-fearing, and they don't feel that way. They're all about love and whatever. But I just wanted to kind of do a PSA. And I feel like that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with the world today. And not that there's anything wrong, because that's indicating that we can't fix it. And it's perspective. I think everything is perspective. So if we're looking at things, we're looking at life, like, I'm doing things this way, or I'm doing this thing, because I'm afraid if I do the wrong thing, there's consequences, right? Consequences is a fact of life. You're going to have consequences no matter what you do, because that's just natural law, right? But at the same time, something as important as your spirituality or your inner knowing and understanding, there shouldn't be fear in that. I honestly 1,000,000% believe that that's a big part of why I have the belief of non-understanding really of what it is. But why I don't conform to one thing, because I don't really know what else to say other than, if you have fear, that's what holds you back. Now, obviously, like, anxiety, things like that. But those are the things that we work on that strengthens ourselves, right? When we work through fears and we work through things, that's more like I think fear is more like a tool. survival, things like that. But do you really want your spiritual life to be all about survival? I mean, because it's kind of like there's no, what's the point? Why are you doing it if you're just scared that God's gonna come get you if you don't do things the right way? So anyway, that's my PSA. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but yeah, because I just feel like that's not how it should be. That's how people can use religion against each other. That's how people's faith can be used against them. Because honestly, like, there's no faith in fear. Because if you're scared of, some force doing something terrible to you, and that's the only reason why you're doing what you're doing, then that's not respect. That's not love. That's not appreciating this life that we have, right? So, all right. That's all I got to say about that. I hope that made sense. Talk to you later.